I welcome all you veterans and dependents into Jersey City's Veterans Forum.
Just wanted to say hello, and I'm going to have the council president say a couple words as well, as today's a busy day. Just the week before Thanksgiving, there's a big initiative in the city to make sure that we distribute, obviously, to many families that need it, help for the Thanksgiving and the eventual Christmas season. So that initiative, which is several months in the working via City Hall, is ongoing right now at the medical center and at CarePoint. So you're more than welcome to join subsequent to this. That said, about families that are in need, one of the most important communities that we need to talk about are our veterans here in Jersey City. I personally know, because I went through it and my family went through it, the sacrifices that you all make, and not only you, it's your families who serve along with you, even though they may not be deployed. And often the contributions that you all have made feels like it isn't recognized and sometimes even forgotten. And we want to make sure in Jersey City that outreach starts in a better, more concise, and more formal setting. And that's what really today is about, starting a framework to do better outreach into our veteran community. One of the important initiatives that Jersey City is undertaking, we're the first city in the state of New Jersey to sign on to Michelle Obama's initiative to end veteran homelessness. It's an initiative that is solvable. In Jersey City, a city this size, people would be surprised to find out that the census numbers indicate that there are only less than 100 homeless veterans here in Jersey City. While one is too many, it is a solvable problem if we pull together. And we are working on our affordable housing policy right now, which hopefully will be unveiled before the end of the year, that will target not only low-income families, but specifically veterans, because those who served, we must always be reaching back to those people, make sure they never get left behind. So we want to say thank you for all of you for coming out today. If I don't have a chance to see you personally, have a great Thanksgiving, and I am sure I will see you all in the month in December. And thank you, Mr. Sampson, for putting this together. I'm going to turn it over to the council president to say a couple words.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rolando Lavaro, City Council President for the City of Jersey City. You know, I can't say it better than the mayor, and he has served honorably for our country. I didn't have that privilege, and one of the things I probably regret as an adult these days. But I just want to thank Mr. Sampson for putting this together. I just want to say, you know, Veterans Day has passed, and you know, as a young man, I probably didn't appreciate veteran service as much as I should have as a young man. So as I get older and have a family and a child, I definitely want you to know that I appreciate your service and all those who've made the ultimate sacrifice and safeguard and protect our freedom every day. So thank you all, and take advantage of all the resources that I know Mr. Sampson and the providers out there are making available to you. And we stand behind you in all your needs and efforts going forward. Thank you all.
I'm the team leader for a vet center. I'm assuming, do a lot of you know what we do at vet centers? We're treatment centers for returning combatants. We treat military sexual trauma. We have a family therapist on staff. We do individual and group counseling. All my staff is licensed. We do the stand down in New Jersey and Newark every year. This year we did it, and we processed 400 homeless veterans and 150 from the community, which we do last. We are also tasked with the unfortunate duty of doing bereavement counseling. If somebody's KIA'd or an accidental death, we are the people that do the counseling for the family. And the recent statistics are that this cohort is killing itself at 22 people per day. Let's think about that. These are young men and young women who've been to war. And by the way, when you hear the term soldier, that's now generic, because that soldier could be a young lady. I was at Fort Dix a couple of years ago when this young lady was getting her second Purple Heart from being in a gunfight, and she was up on a 50 cal. on a truck. So that's generic. The other thing I want to point out, and time is, where's Charles? Of an essence, do you know that in this country, the mayor brought it up about homeless veterans. In this country, we spend $9 billion a year on medicine for our pets. We spend $61 billion a year on food for our pets. And we have people living under bridges? Does that make any sense at all? No, there's no sense to that. There shouldn't be a thing as a homeless veteran. Now, I don't care if you're a combat veteran or if you served in peacetime. You should not have that stigma attached to you. It's like the stigma of PTSD. Where's Charles? Well, he'll let me know when this. How many of you know what PTSD is? What is the worst thing that ever happened to you guys with PTSD? Sylvester Stallone and Chuck Norris. Because everybody thinks you're going to come out of your bathtub with an M60 with a Band-Aid around your head saying, let's do it. When PTSD is a readjustment disorder. To look at somebody with PTSD and put a stigma on them, well, then you might as well put a stigma on every policeman, fireman, and EMT. So I know if you're going to call for help, you're not going to call Chuck and Stallone, you're going to call a policeman, fireman, or an EMT. Think about what they see. That's what people see in combat. Horrible memories that cannot be erased. They are not going to shoot you. They are not going to beat you up. They're not going to do any of that. They're doctors, lawyers, teachers. They're good people. Don't fall into that trap. Okay? That's what we do. The other part of the thing here today is my buddy Frank Garino, who we will tell you we have nothing to do with claims. We'll support your claim, but we can't help you. That's Newark. So you can go there and fight with Bernie. Okay? Anybody have any questions about anything? Yes, sir.
I noticed you said that you had stand down in Newark and you have one in Morristown, right?
Pardon me?
You have a stand down in Newark and you have a stand down in Morristown.
Right.
What about one in Jersey City or somewhere close to Jersey?
Well,
Never.
Well, I understand that. We send a bus, we circulate a bus in this city 2 or 3 times before we go to Newark. We have a pickup point up here at Christopher Columbus Drive. I send that bus there every year. That bus leaves there. It's a 54 passenger with 6 people on it.
Yeah, but what about the bus who lives there in the Greenville section? We don't know about the bus.
When they got the light rail, they can take it down here, right?
You know, but still I'm saying is, what about something in Hudson County? That's what everything in Essex County, Morristown, you know.
A stand down takes a full year to plan. So close to Newark, it wouldn't be advantageous to do it. It'd be better to have the bus continue to circulate and bring you back to Newark. Yes, sir. Wait.
What I'm saying is, what's the problem with getting one started here?
There's no problem. You guys want to start one, start one. All you gotta do is put together a committee, find the resources, and do it.
All right, okay, we got it, right? All right.
What about getting out better notification when you have stand-down?
There's posters posted in every soup kitchen here. We put it up in the CBOC. We put it up in City Hall. We put it everywhere. It's online too on the standdownnorthjersey.org.
Yes, the gentleman's question, the stand down, I believe they have one somewhere about 2 weeks ago.
In Morristown.
Okay, correct. And I go to the claim of Christopher Columbus. I was there 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and I asked them about it. Because they usually do have a bus sometimes. I went on had to go either to Newark or one of other places to get a bus to go out to Morristown. Did they have anything leaving from Christopher Columbus?
That is a different group than us. I don't know how they do their thing. I don't get involved with them in any way. That's Community Hope and some other group called Soldier On.
Because I've been to a couple of stand down, but we did catch the bus from Christopher Columbus Drive at the VA clinic. I've been there, so I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
But this year, there was none, because I did ask around, and I asked that clinic, and he said that there was no bus leaving from Christopher Columbus.
You mean for the
Drive.
one from Morristown?
Correct, and we just had not too long ago.
Yeah, I don't know how they do that.
Okay.
I don't know. I have nothing, I'm not involved with that one.
I was just exactly some barriers.
Oh, no, I understand this point.
So what he said is correct, but I tried, and that was not. And me and you are friends now. I've seen you a couple of times, so you know I'm serious about coming to you to say this. But nobody's giving us the information.
Well, we plan ours to include Hudson County. And we have 3 people from Hudson County on the committee that just come here and take care of getting people on the bus. I mean, that bus loops in and out of here 2 or 3 times a day, I believe.
Thank you.
Question. This is where our problem is as veterans and as citizens of whichever our situation might be. When we look at people who are supposed to and getting paid or whichever in representation from government down into this agency as far as us veterans, we go to certain things. All right, for instance, we're speaking on Morristown. All right, the limitations of what we was entitled to was a whole lot different than what we got than other veterans
Where?
in Morristown. And my point here was to that it was very obvious. I claimed there 2 times. I wanted to get something for my brother man that was he's in Lions Brigade. His name is Urban Harris. He was in the Marines, and he asked me to bring him 2 things. When we went to Newark, we had when you gave your card, you automatically registered as a veteran. There was no paper trace or nothing here speaking on us as veterans when we went to Morristown. So the treatment that we get from this county compared to any other county or representation as servicemen, it's not even considered half the stuff that we're talking about.
Let me tell you about the stand-down committee. That stand-down committee is made up of all Vietnam veterans, all volunteers. We don't, nobody collects a penny, nobody cares who gets his picture. That's the one we handle in Newark. You had came to us in Newark and had his ID, we would have gave you 2 sets of those. All you had to do is have his paper.
Yeah, Newark was cool.
Right.
There's Morristown,
Listen.
like to say, out of county situation that we encounter.
I've got big problems with Morristown. I got big problems with the way it was run.
Right.
And I'm going to speak to somebody about it.
But that's not only one issue, it's in political issues.
But I don't, that's why my committee is all volunteer.
But even as representation, all right, as a veteran, all right, I go to the senator, all right? I gotta go away to Newark or wherever because we have no proper representation here because they're gonna say you're gonna have to go to Newark anyway. You're assigned to...
Are you referring to a claim?
Anything, hold on. Anything from a claim down. I have veterans in here that I know personally that have been in the war and hasn't been compensated yet.
That's, okay, that's what I mean. That's not, that's VA benefits.
We understand.
I don't have anything to do with that.
This is where the problem is. Why one agency, as a citizen, as willing to fight and die from this country, as far as you and I and the rest of the veterans here, is concerned about, and now at 50 years later, look at the treatments that you're getting.
Listen, I work for them. You think they treat me any different than they treat you?
I mean, but that's all right. Maybe you're in a better position than I am, so you can tolerate a little bit more than I
do.
do.
Is they treat me the exact same way they treat you. That's why all
Maybe depending on my circumstances and your circumstances.
Well, I have nothing to do with claims.
But I'm not talking about claims, I'm just talking about an overall as we went from the main subject to how we're being treated. That's the only thing that's
Okay.
concerned
Yes, sir.
in any issue.
Is there a way of getting legal representation for non-military issues?
Where's that information from the lawyers? Sitting right in front of you. See how quick you solve problems? Anybody else with a question?
Well, mine's going to her.
What?
Mine's going to this lady. Okay?
You need to run for office.
No. I'm just an advocate citizen of this country where a lot of veterans fought and died in Hudson County, which we lost more veterans than any country, any county in the United States.
Purple Hearts, one lane, I understand your plight. Okay. You're singing to the choir.
I'm gonna sing. I'm gonna sing because I am somebody, and the people that died and sacrificed should not be forgotten.
You're in the fight.
Okay? Even the few that's living.
Every day we fight this battle.
And how far do we get?
Well, we're making progress. Charles, who's next? Yes, sir.
Is there any specific thing to say, institution where like the veteran can go, no matter what problems that we have, homelessness, what else, because I'm in such a situation now, every time I go to my this place, this place, it could be housing, but you got to go to this place and then
They just flew over here.
it's one place that can take care of whatever is bad. That's where it should be, instead of doing all this running around. Someone must go back to me, someone, I don't have to
I agree, that's what we're trying to do, that's what we're trying to get everybody hooked up with the right people. Very good people in this room are Catholic charities. Talk to them, they were with us, they gave you the help. We're called the veterans. Okay? But you're right, there should be one place where you go and that's it. That's it. Okay, thank you.
I like to talk to you. All right.
Charles just wanted me to share something about the forgotten Marines. 1945, June 25th, Franklin D. Roosevelt issued an executive order. That executive order was regarding employment for all. That executive order was primarily set because the Marines, the United States Marine Corps, had no blacks. We would just assume that the Marine Corps may have had blacks involved, African Americans, because of the history of the Civil War, the Indian War, the Mexican War, Spanish-American War, where we had the 9th and 10th Cavalry Army, and also the great exploits of the Tuskegee Airmen, what they did, fantastic airmen. And so even myself, I always never thought about the Marines ever having no African Americans at all. I knew that the branches were segregated, but I never thought about the Marine Corps. And the Marine Corps was all white, and they wanted it to remain that way. After the executive order was given by Franklin D. Roosevelt, there was a big fight. A lot of hardliners, people who wanted to keep the old way, and they actually believed that black Americans could not be Marines. Black Americans would help make the Marine Corps weaker than what it is. A little later, and during the next following year, there was a gentleman named Wendell Willkie. Wendell Willkie was the opponent for Roosevelt. He was a Republican for Roosevelt in 1940. And he did something that was so terrific. And I think that everybody, we can agree to disagree. Wendell Willkie stood at a big speech in an inaugural dinner, and he said, America is a hypocrite. He says, we promote democracy abroad, but we don't do it in our own home. And right after that, 2 months later, another presidential directive was given, and that blacks would be able, and African Americans, be able to enter the United States Marine Corps. They trained at a place called Moffett Point, North Carolina, inside of Camp Lejeune. Who's familiar with Camp Lejeune, North Carolina? On the northeast side. This is where they train, in a real meager environment, infested with snakes, quicksand, bears roaming at night. It was very, very tough. And it wasn't 16 weeks like we have now, but it was 8 weeks. 8 weeks of grueling training, along with racism. And when they went on leave, they could not ride the buses because they weren't allowed to get on the buses. Now, I'm not giving you a black history. I'm giving you right now American history, because it's so important that every service person, every person knows and understands that those were the lost or forgotten Marines. These Marines trained and became the 51st, 52nd Defense Battalions, and they hit the beaches. I've watched Guadalcanal Diary and different movies about World War II, Iwo Jima, Guadalcanal. But these Marines, they hit those beaches. Thousands of them. Guam, Mariana Islands, Marshall Islands, Saipan. And they played a big role, a very, very big role in capturing Okinawa. And I've even talked to Marines now, Marines that were in the Marine Corps maybe 30 years ago. They never heard of the Moffett Point Marines. But in 1948, Truman, he had a directive order that all of the branches now become integrated. And one thing that's good about the Marine Corps, they were the first to do it after they was told to integrate in 1948. And these same Marines, these Moffett Point Marines, some of them went on to fight in Korea and some in Vietnam. And gave their lives and sacrifice. And there was one point, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, I don't recall his name right now, said that these soldiers are the most snappiest, these Marines rather, most snappiest Marines, okay, that I have on a base. And that was in Camp Lejeune. They're the most snappiest. Just wanted to share this because I think it's so important for people to know, that African Americans played a big role, and at one point, the Marine Corps didn't allow them in. Later on, in 1965, there's a few guys got together in Philadelphia, Moffett Point Marines, old timers. They sat down and they were having a card game. Really, just like, it must have been about 100. They were doing different activities. They said, let's come back to next year. Let's do this again. And they turned out to be called the Moffett Point Marine Association. This Moffett Point Marine Association now has 33 chapters, 33 states. They allow anyone that has had prior military, whether you're in the United States Navy, Coast Guard, Air Force, Army, to be a part of the Moffett Point Marine Association. That's a good part. I ended up in the Army, okay? And my father was a Moffett Point Marine. I have a lot of respect for him. My father just passed away April the 18th. And this cat, he was a Montford Point Marine. How I got into the Army is a long story. But I thank God, and I thank God for all the veterans that served in all the branches, whether you've been abroad or whether you've been home. You are heroes, and you have defended this country. Because once you took that oath, that was it. You in. Thank you.
Let me elaborate a little bit more on this here. Even though Mr. Prentice was in the Army, his father, as he said, was a Montford Point Marine. He fought in the Second World War, he fought in Korea and Vietnam. So I just want to bring that to bear. And for all of you that don't realize this here, even though his father passed away in April, you never die until you are forgotten. As long as he keeps talking about him, he'll always be alive. All right, now I'd like to bring up Ms. Lorena Huggins from the New Jersey Division of Military and Veterans Affairs.
Good morning. Like Mr. Sampson said, my name is Lorena Huggins. I'm from the New Jersey Department of Military and Veteran Affairs. I work out of the Newark Regional Office up on the 4th floor. Aside from DMAVA and any other veteran service organization out there, we are there to help all veterans come and file claims for the benefits that they are entitled to. The state of New Jersey have their own group of benefits that veterans are entitled to, and if you would feel free to come to the desk over in the corner, you can pick up a brochure that will explain the benefits to you. I also would like to point out that in regards to female veterans, that feel free to come and talk to me in regards to any benefits that you may want to apply for, or you may have questions. I am here for you, and we will try to answer any and all questions that you have at that time. And if I can't help you, I'm quite sure I can refer you to someone who can. Now, I'm not leaving the men out, so don't start, okay? Because if you have any questions pertaining to any benefits or any claims that you may have, I will do my best to try to help you with those as well. I heard quite a few concerns about some issues in regards to the stand down earlier. I hope that he answered them for you. I don't believe that there's any problem that can't be addressed and or solved. So please know that you are being listened to. And if you would like to take it any further, please feel free to talk to me after I leave the podium this morning. Again, you would be surprised some of the benefits that the state offer. We have our own medals that we give the veterans from the state of New Jersey, as far back as the Vietnam War up into our Iraqi and Afghanistan veterans as well. We have various supportive services, like we have our own PTSD program that a lot of people are not aware of. You know, that maybe you're not getting the service at the VA hospital. Please know that there's another option that you have. So again, come by and pick up the brochure. And I'm quite sure you'll say some things, see some things, or read some things that'll make you say, I didn't know that. Thank you.
Sorry, we had a couple other speakers that were supposed to be here, but due to other activities, they couldn't make it. I'm going to bring up Mr. Frank Quadrino, who's the outreach manager from Lions Hospital.
Good morning, everybody. As Mr. Sampson said, my name is Frank Quadrino. I'm the outreach manager for the VA New Jersey healthcare system. And first and foremost, I want to give Charles a hand. He put a lot of work into this day. He called me up months ago about, organizing this event, and I know how much work goes into something like this, so thank you, Charles. Secondly, and maybe even more importantly, let me certainly take this opportunity to thank everybody in this room who served in the military, whether you served during wartime, peacetime, active duty, National Guard, Reserve. I mean, you didn't know, when you either enlisted or got drafted, what the situation would be. I want to certainly thank you. You're the 2% of the population out there that served. It's very few people that serve, so I want to thank you folks for what you folks have done. I'm basically here this morning to talk about VA healthcare. How many of you actually use the VA, for your healthcare? East Orange line. Wow. Okay. Most, if not all of you. Okay. I'm glad to see that. Now, one of the ways you can help me is to speak to your fellow veterans, and I know, veterans are a band of brothers. I know you guys and girls hang out with other veterans. Encourage them to enroll in the VA healthcare system. Because you know what? You never know what the criteria is going to be for eligibility. And it has changed throughout the years. It used to be you needed 1 day of active duty service prior to 1980, honorable discharge, you were eligible. Now it's 2 years, okay, active duty service. Or if you're in the National Guard Reserve and your unit got called up for any type of a federal conflict, whether it's Somalia, Grenada, Iraq, Afghanistan, even the post office strike, that would make a National Guard reservist person eligible for VA healthcare benefits, okay? And unfortunately, in 2003, a little bit over 11 years ago, they changed the eligibility criteria another time, and they basically put an income threshold on some of the veterans. So if a veteran were to come up to me this morning, and depending upon when he served and what his situation is, if that veteran's income is above a certain level, guess what? They're not eligible for VA healthcare benefits. Now, anybody who's in the system, I want to make sure you understand this. You could win the lottery tonight or next Tuesday, whenever they have the next lottery. We don't throw you out. Once you're in the system, you're in the system. However, there are a number of exceptions to that, okay? People who are ex-POWs, doesn't matter what their income is, they're automatically eligible. Purple Heart recipients. Purple Heart recipients, anybody here? Yeah, and by the way, I know he won't say it, but I'm going to say it for him. One of the previous speakers, Dave Cathcart from the Vet Center, he's awarded the Purple Heart twice. Not once, but twice. As a matter of fact, we were at an outreach event about a month ago, and it came up, and somebody came up to Dave and said, wow, you won the Purple Heart. I said, that's something you don't want to win, man. That's, he got injured while I was in the service. So any other Purple Heart recipients out there? If you know of any Purple Heart recipients out there, they could be multimillionaires like Dave is, and they would be eligible for VA healthcare benefits. Doesn't matter what their income is. Next group that's automatically eligible, service-connected vets. Any service-connected vets? Anybody getting a disability check? Automatically eligible. Doesn't matter what your income is. Next group, Vietnam vets, boots on the ground. Any Vietnam vets? I would encourage you, if you're not already enrolled, enroll, because it doesn't matter what your income is. And the last group is the OAF vets, the one who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Anybody out there serve in Iraq or Afghanistan? You did, sir? Oh, wow. Hopefully you folks are enrolled in the VA, because not only are you automatically eligible, but when you got back, I don't know if you knew this or not, you were eligible for 5 years of free care for anything that was related, though, to your time in theater. If it had nothing to do with your time in theater, if 3 months after you got back, you got into a car accident and you broke your arm, the VA would still treat it, but they'd probably charge you a copay. Because they're going to say 3 months after you got discharged, you getting into a car accident had nothing to do with your time in theater. But again, that's another group of veterans automatically eligible for VA healthcare benefits. Now, some of the benefits that you can take advantage of is, first of all, we have primary care, specialty care, inpatient care, outpatient care. Anybody here get the free eyeglasses? Anybody? Oh, good. I'm glad to see you taking advantage of it. Make sure when you see your primary care provider, tell them, maybe it's been a couple years since you've had your eyes refracted. You need to see the optometrist at the VA. And the eyeglasses themselves are free. If you need bifocals, the VA will give you bifocals. If you need trifocals, they give you trifocals. It's not like it was 30, 40 years ago, folks, okay? Anybody here get hearing aids from the VA? Anybody? You did, sir? Okay. It used to be you had to be service connected for loss of hearing or tinnitus to get hearing aids, or at least 30% for something. Guess what we're doing now in the last 4 or 5 years? Any veteran who takes our audiogram with our audiologist, if you fail it, even if you're non-service connected, you're going to get free hearing aids from the VA for the rest of your life. And if you need batteries, as you will attest to this, sir, the VA will get them for you, correct? You get 2, okay. Okay. So think about it. And I encourage veterans who had an MOS where you were exposed to loud noises, you know, infantry, flight deck, engine room, flight deck, there you go. You know, you folks are exposed to loud noises, and as you get older, you know, your hearing may start to diminish. Some of you could file a claim for that, and if you get rated, you're automatically going to get free hearing aids from the VA. Most difficult thing to get free from the VA is dental. You got to be at least 100% service connected, or service connected for your mouth or your jaw or something like that. However, I don't know if you know this or not, and I brought this book with me. I have them outside. Ever since the beginning of this year, every veteran who's enrolled in the VA healthcare system, you have to be enrolled, you're now entitled to dental. It's not free, though. There is a small copay and a small premium. It's with Delta Dental and MetLife are the companies that we partnered up with. And the other benefit to that is, you know, when people who get free dental from the VA, they have to go to the VA, and sometimes it's a trip to get the dental coverage. It's a long ride. But let's say if you folks enrolled in the VA dental program and with MetLife or Delta Dental, what they'll do is they'll send you a list of the participating dentists where you live. And maybe there's a dentist maybe a couple miles away from your house, and you don't have to travel up to the VA. So they try and make it as easy as possible for you, okay? Prescriptions. Anybody get prescriptions from the VA? Well, everybody's okay. Just a word of caution about that, okay? If you're not paying for your prescriptions, if you don't have a copay, get anything and everything from the VA. Do one-stop shopping. If you are paying for your prescriptions up at the VA, and by the way, you're either only going to pay $8 or $9 for a 30-day supply, no matter what it is, just do some shopping, so to speak. There are some medications you can get a lot cheaper at, you know, at Costco or even ShopRite. My wife gets metformin for free at ShopRite. Of course, ShopRite's smart. What they do, they put the pharmacy in back of the store. So by the time you walk to the front of the store and as you're walking out, you buy $40 worth of groceries, so it really wasn't free. But again, just be careful as to what you're getting at the VA. Anybody here take aspirin or vitamin B or vitamin C? Anybody here? Are you paying or is it free? Okay. All right. If you're paying for it, sir, it's free. Okay. I don't want anybody buying aspirin from the VA. You're going to get a bottle of 100 aspirin. VA looks at that as a 90-day prescription. Well, I just told you a 30-day prescription is either $8 or $9. So a 90-day prescription is either going to be $24 or $27. You're going to pay either $24 or $27 for a bottle of aspirin. Go to Walgreens, go to Costco, go somewhere where you can probably pick it up for $1.97. Okay, so I just want to make sure you understand that before you leave your provider's office at the VA. When I use the word provider at the VA, it could be a doctor, physician assistant, or nurse practitioner that you may see. Okay, just ask them, what are you ordering for me today? So this way you know. I don't want you to be surprised, you know, a week later when you get your medications in the mail, and you say, I forgot to tell my doctor I didn't need this medication anymore. Well, guess what? You had the opportunity to sit there in front of our providers and you didn't say anything. And you're going to be responsible for a medication that you don't want. So I just want to make sure you understand. We call it speak up. Don't leave that office until you know what you're getting. Another thing the VA, I think, has improved on considerably is once they started to provide what they call CBOX. I know Dave mentioned it, the clinics that we provided throughout the state of New Jersey. You have one not too far from here. How many of you use the clinic in Jersey? Oh, wow. Perfect. Okay. So you guys know about it. Use it for your primary care. As you do know, if you need to see a specialist, they're either going to send you to East Orange or Alliance. Okay. But most of our veterans use the VA for primary care anyway, so we try and make it as easy as possible for you to, we don't want you traveling all the way up to East Orange or Lyons if you don't have to. So that's another thing. The other thing the VA has, and hopefully nobody here will ever need it, long-term care benefits. We have programs like respite care, hospice care, Alzheimer's unit, home-based care, where if you're unable to get to the VA will send a doctor or a nurse to your house. We have home health aides. If you're unable to dress yourself, feed yourself, bathe yourself, the VA will send out a home health aide. However, the key to all of these programs, let me make sure you understand, is make sure you go to the VA and see your primary doctor at least once every 2 years. Because I could tell you right now, we come into this situation a lot where we get a call from a veteran, hasn't gone to the VA in 7 or 8 years, and now he wants the VA to send somebody to his house. And you know what we say? We haven't seen you in 7 years. We don't know what your condition is. You got to come in and see us. So if you see your provider at least once every 2 years, truthfully, go once a year. The most it's going to cost you to see a VA primary care provider, the most, $15. Specialist is a little bit more expensive, that's $50. But again, most of you probably use the VA for your primary care. So the most that it's going to cost you is $15. And some of you, the ones who raised their hand that said they were service-connected and Purple Heart, you don't pay for your visits. So to me, you know, go once a year and get yourself checked up, because then when you do need certain programs from the VA says, okay, this is a person who has a vested interest in the VA, so we have to have a vested interest in that veteran. Let's provide that veteran the program and the things that they definitely need. Okay. Again, I'm right outside here to the left. If anybody has anything specific, you know, individually, you want to talk to me about a certain thing, I'll be more than happy to speak to you. I do have the 2014 VA healthcare overview. This talks about everything that I just talked about. I just got in the 2014 federal benefit book for veterans, family members, and dependents, if you're interested. And again, please take advantage and come see me. Again, I thank you for your service, and have a good day. Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we now have a representative from the Veterans of Foreign Wars.
Thank you, Charles. I'm Bernie McElwee. I'm the VFW State Service Officer. I work out of the regional office in Newark. I've been there for 21 years. Probably seen some of you guys once or twice or 17 times. I handle VA claims. I will assist you. I can't tell you where you served. I can't tell you what happened when you were on active duty. I wasn't there with you. I did 2 tours in Vietnam from 1966 to 1968. And then the Army, in its infinite wisdom, sent me to Texas for another year, and I got out. And I do this for a living. Now, I'm here to tell you about VA claims. There are a lot of pitfalls in that process that you need to be aware of. The VA is in the process of making great changes in how they work. They want you to file your claims online. That becomes a very impersonal process. And if you don't tell the VA everything that they need to know, your claim might take a year to get done, or longer, when it could be done as quickly as 28 days. In most cases, new claims that are supported by evidence are done in 90 to 120 days. The VA puts out their information and their news releases. I said they're going to do this job with 98% accuracy in 125 days or less. Well, God bless. I hope they're successful with that. But in all the years that I've been there, their average has been 6 or 7 months when it's been good. So let me explain to you what VA is about. They're using an electronic system now. In Newark, they're paperless. They want their records to come in electronic format. So they put up a system for you guys. It's called eBenefits. You can log into eBenefits. You can file your claim. If you have private medical records, it will let you upload those records into the VA system. However, the system only allows 5 megabytes of information at a time. So if you have a lot of medical records, it might take you several hours to break them down into small packages and scan them into the system. That's one of the things that they don't tell you when you're filing the claim in eBenefits. They also don't tell you the eligibility rules. They want you to identify where you were treated. And I can tell you this, if you're treated by the VA and you identify the locations in the VA where you have received treatment, the VA will get those records. You don't have to do it. They will get the records, they come in electronic format, and they're off and running. The threshold that you need to look for when you file a claim is when you are scheduled for an examination. An examination is critical to the process. If you miss the exam, your claim goes south. You get denied. If your claim is denied and you want to reopen that claim, you still want the VA to deal with it to provide service connection for a disability, the VA will tell you they need new and material evidence. And this is a big problem for most people, because what the hell does that mean? Basically, it means you need a medical opinion from a practitioner with expertise dealing with that disability. They need to say, the symptomology of this condition stems from your military service. It is more likely than not related to such and such an injury that occurred while you were on active duty. And if it doesn't say more likely than not, or that it is most probable, the VA is not going to accept that. You haven't met that threshold. So I would recommend that you not file a claim on your own. Not because I need more work to do. I handle 400,000 veterans in the state of New Jersey, plus their families, widows, their children. That's a lot of folks. My phone rings all day long. I have stacks of claims that come in by mail and they come in by email, and people come in, slide them in under the door, any number of ways. So I'm busy all the time. But I won't let you down. Your claim will get into the system. I will talk to you. I will explain what the VA is looking for. Many of the older vets, and I'm talking older than me, prior to Vietnam, have been told for years that their records were burned up in a fire in St. Louis in 1973. Well, for most Vietnam vets, I have to tell you, your records weren't in St. Louis yet. But you still got told, oh, your records got burned up. We can't get them. Well, the fact is, there were a lot of records burned up, basically from the service period during the 50s. And most of those records were Air Force people in the last half of the alphabet. However, a lot of the records that were in the vicinity of that fire were drenched. And if you remember, back in those old ancient days when you got to look at your service treatment records, they were on this little thin, skinny little paper. It took the VA 25 years to develop the technology to separate those papers without losing the information. So those records can now be recovered. The VA has found other sources to find records. They might not find all the details of where you were and what was going on, but they can tell what unit you were in, and they can tell if you were hospitalized. If you were not actively engaged in your unit for a certain period of time, you say, well, yeah, that's because I injured my back and I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. They can tell that you were in the hospital. Sometimes we can get back into the archive records for that particular hospital and recover that information, but that requires that you know what those dates were. On any given military post, during a period of 3 to 5 years, there might have been 100,000 guys go through. And that hospital has records. They're in there kept by your service number or your social security number and by date. So if you don't know the specific dates that you were hospitalized, it can be very difficult to find that stuff. If you were hospitalized in a local hospital while you were stationed overseas, that becomes more of a problem because I don't know how they filed their records and I don't know how long they kept them. Now, we found out recently veterans who had military sexual trauma and had records that were adjudicated through the military police or investigated. Those records are there. They maintained those records for 40 years. Unfortunately, I had a guy come in, file a claim this year for something that happened in 1973. Those records were destroyed last year. But anything after 1974, there's access to the military investigation records. Now, what the VA will not provide is information relative to other people who were involved in that incident. The perpetrator, for instance. You being the victim, the VA and the military people will not give you information on the perpetrator because that violates their right to privacy. In order to get those records, you would have to locate that person and get their permission. Good luck. I don't know anybody who would incriminate themselves even after this period of time. But they are there. You can get things. Now, on March 25th of this year, the VA is changing their forms. They're going to have everything cut down basically to 3 different forms and a specific form if you're going to appeal a case. And if you're thinking about filing a claim, they have a special form for that too. Now, VA says a lot of people want to file claims and they don't know exactly what they need, or they need time to gather the records. So the VA has come up with a special form so that you can file your intent to file a claim. The VA will mark your spot. They'll maintain the date that they received that form, and that will be the beginning date of your claim, provided you complete the process within 12 months. That's a good thing. They used to do that informally, but if they lost the record, you were kind of up the creek. So now there's a special form, and you have to make sure that anything you provide to the VA, you keep a copy of, because they're still prone to lose things. They have a scanning process. When you file your claim on paper, they have to send it out to a vendor to have it scanned. That process can take anywhere from 4 to 12 weeks. And that's from their own mouth. I never thought they'd admit it, but they did. So you won't see anything happening with the paper claim you file for up to 3 months. Then it will show up in the system. When it shows up in the system, the VA will begin to work on it. When they begin working on it, they're gathering records, mostly medical records. They will get your service treatment records. They will get your records from any VA medical facility or any other government facility that you can name and locate. If your records are with private doctors, it would be in your own interest to get those records yourself and provide them with the claim form. The VA is one of these crazy agencies. If you provide everything with the claim form, they can get your claim done in 90 days. If you provide the claim form and tell them, I'll provide you with the medical records later, it'll take them a year. Why is that? Maybe it only takes you 10 days to get your records into them. But then your claim, by that time, has fallen out of the fast track. Now it sits on somebody's desk until they get around to looking at it, deciding what needs to be done next, and on and on. And it is a process. It's frustrating. As much as it's frustrating for you to have to wait, it's frustrating to me to have to go downstairs and kick somebody in the butt to get them to do their job. Of course, that's the good part of my job. I can do that, and they can't fire me because I don't work for the VA. I work for the VFW. I work for you. You're my clients. You're the people I care about. Now, VA has one claim form now for a veteran to file a claim. It's got 24 lines on it for listing your disabilities. And if you think, God, that's an awful lot, I've had claims with more disabilities than can fit on one form. Now, when you file that claim, VA wants to know where you were treated and when for each of those disabilities. If you spent a career in the military, the VA is going to look to make sure that those disabilities are considered chronic. What's that mean? That just means that you were treated for that disability over a period exceeding 6 months. So if you injured your knee and they gave you an aspirin and sent you away, and that's the only time it happened, the VA is going to tell you that injury didn't happen in service. It has nothing to do with your military service. But if you injured your knee and they gave you an aspirin and sent you away, and the next month you were back in complaining about your knee, and the next month after that you were back in complaining about your knee, and that continued periodically over a period of time, then the VA will say, yeah, that's a chronic disability. The VA gives you a 1-year window from your discharge date to where they will assume that any treatment you're receiving for an injury is related to that active service. And that's important. You want to tell these young troops when they're coming back into the neighborhood, if you have an injury, go see a doctor. Get something on record. Because that 1 year, once that 1 year period expires, the VA is not going to believe that that injury occurred during service that you're being treated for. You need the doctor's opinion to say, yeah, I'm treating him for an injury that originally occurred such and such a time and place when this veteran was on active duty. And then the VA will accept that and move forward. If you're talking about PTSD, the VA wants one of their own doctors to diagnose it. You can go to the foremost expert in the world, but if he doesn't work for the VA, they won't accept a diagnosis of PTSD. Go figure. It could be 15 years or 20 years or 30 years. The VA doctor can bridge that gap and say, yes, the symptomology is related to this veteran's active duty service, and the VA will not accept that from a private practitioner. Even if he was trained and worked for the VA for 20 years or more, doesn't matter. If he doesn't work for them when he provides the diagnosis, they will not accept it. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. As we're speaking about disability, non-service disability, my situation is non-service condition. Mm-hmm. You send your information to the federal and state authority stating your total disability, which mine happened to be total at the time. Okay. Now, if you got these agencies sending you to other doctors, altering your medical thing, and I have wrote to VA, how come my medical, if I've been there 20-some years, my medical is not acceptable by another agencies, and these are the problems that we're having, whether they're service collector or insurance company, that this man might have on himself because they won't accept the VA medical, and they'll go with an outside source that has nothing to do with the treatment?
Yes.
Is that a legal issue, or what kind of issue is that?
It's not a legal issue. What it has to do with, in many cases, is the rules that are established for that agency to function. In many cases, they want their own doctors to provide a diagnosis. And the VA is like that. And Social Security uses their own doctors, but Social Security will also accept VA medical records. Not every agency will. DOD wants their own doctors to do things.
Okay, this is what we're talking about. If my whole history and the VA don't mean crap because another agency can come along and ruin your life because of a medical issue, I mean, what good is you going to the VA if my medical is not accepted by any other agency?
You need treatment for these conditions, do you not?
From the day that I got hurt from the outside injury, I went to the VA. The only reason that they accepted it because I have went there during the time.
Because they knew you.
thought I was a veteran.
Right.
That's one thing that I never, when I decided to enlist, about me being me, that gave me the honor of me being a veteran, because to have treatment. I had no treatment of it. All right? I got locked in the system with the VA.
Okay.
It is 25 years old later, my medicals are still not accepted.
They're not accepted for service connection.
No, hold. We're not going to that.
Well, okay, so you're talking about non-service connected.
When we talk about previous to, how come nobody in the VA or disabled thing can ever tap into an outside agency for anything? Why gives an agency strong rules or powers or corporate or whichever way that you look at it to sustain your life on how you're living, and you're willing to die and fight for your country, and you can't even stand up as a man and present evidence that affect my life the rest of my life?
Okay, no. Right now, I'm not sure who you would be presenting this to.
Any agency.
All right, but there are,
My argument is that
in terms of medical information, there are laws that are called HIPAA laws. It's the health insurance personal information, and those laws prevent other agencies, whether they be state or municipal or even other, not necessarily federal, but any agency that is below the federal level cannot access those records unless you provide written permission.
I'm talking about 20 years. Come on, I got
Even though it's 20 years, they will not provide that to anybody unless you provide written permission that they can share the
the
record.
doctor themselves. Okay? This is where my statement is. How come my medical records is not being accepted by other agencies?
Because of the HIPAA laws. The HIPAA laws prevent agencies from sharing your medical
They
information.
have my medical records. I gave them my medical records. It's
Then
not-
why do they need them from somebody else if you gave them to
All my
them?
records are from the VA.
Okay.
And when you send me to another doctor, 15 years down the later, all of a sudden I'm a new guy. Nothing wrong.
Okay, that's a different problem. That doesn't mean your other records are not being consulted or that they're not available to this new doctor. But in most cases, the doctor wants to make his own assessment of what your condition is. He doesn't just accept it from what's already in the file. And another thing is, any records that are more than 2 years old generally would not be considered relevant to your current condition.
My current condition,
So doctors always make their own assessment.
my current condition put me in 6 months to a yearly evaluation by this agency. Okay? Because they do not accept the medical VA. And that's a shame for me as being in a position
Is it a federal agency?
Huh?
Is it another federal agency?
The same agency that's supposed to get paid to allocate the problem. They are the problem.
Are they part of the VA system, or are they separate?
No.
It's a separate agency.
Yes, but it's still under federal. In other words, whatever I'm entitled to.
All right. Now, when you go to a separate agency for treatment or for an assessment or any kind of an evaluation, their doctor has to sign off on that evaluation. Their doctor wants to make his own evaluation of what your condition is and what your treatment regimen should be, or whatever the cost is going to be, whatever your needs are. That's the doctor's responsibility that's providing that evaluation. He doesn't, it's not that he cannot access those other records or that he can't get them if he wants them.
Our brainstorm to keep the
He doesn't want to see them, he wants to make his own evaluation.
Take a man of 25 years of my
It makes no difference. It doesn't matter if you were treated for 50 years. That new doctor wants to make his own evaluation. That's his prerogative. That is governed by his Hippocratic oath. That's his responsibility. When he evaluates you, he does it in his own way.
my own personal records of 50 years that I've been living with.
He doesn't want to see that. He wants to make his own evaluation of what your disability is. If he wants to know your history, then he will request that information from the VA. If he doesn't need your history, then he makes his own evaluation without your records.
That's a violation of my civil rights.
No, it
under
isn't.
the disability act.
That you are getting evaluated for a treatment program.
To me, it's a discrimination against my civil rights concerning the Disability Act. What is the Disability Act put in any force from any...
The Disability Act does not govern the treatment that a doctor provides.
It was an order that's signed by the president to enter the Disability
No, the Disability Act provides access to public buildings or allows you to not be discriminated in public transportation. That's got nothing to do with that has nothing to do with the doctor.
I don't want to hold up nobody's time.
Well, you're doing that, but the doctor, any doctor, sir, any doctor will make his own evaluation. If he wants your history, he can get your history. But regardless, the evaluation is his responsibility, and that's what he's doing. He's taking care of his responsibility.
And lacking the welfare of mine. Because
If his findings are different than what your history
this is the problem.
suggests,
These can come in and destroy people's lives. Look at all of these people.
well, I don't know that it destroys your life. You have a doctor that has a different opinion of what your disability is.
Wayne, you can check him out after.
That's a different problem.
All right, let us move on. The
Okay.
gentleman over here.
Yes, sir. Okay, non-service connected is any injury that occurs that is not related to your active military service. Okay, now the VA has a form if you want to file for a non-service connected pension. If you're over the age of 65, VA assumes you are totally disabled. That's based on Social Security law. But the VA borrows that, says, okay, you're 65 or older. They assume you're totally disabled. The next thing they're looking at is, do you have any current income? Does your current income, whether it's from Social Security or any other source, does that exceed the threshold of what the VA can pay under their pension program? If your income exceeds that level, the VA will deny pension. And they deny it because you already have excess income. Well, that's okay. If you're not 65, you have to prove that you're totally disabled. You have to produce medical records.
Totally disabled.
Totally disabled in order to get the pension.
By other agencies.
Got nothing to do with other agencies. Yes, sir.
Maybe I can clarify this a little bit because I'm on the program right now for the improved pension. I've been certified with PTSD, not related to my service time, but related before when my father was in the service. And I'm on the approved pension for that. The clause is for every dollar that I get, they gonna take $1.
That's correct.
That's the way they approve pension.
Yeah.
So you can get the pension, but you have, like you said, you have to prove that you are disabled.
Yeah. And if you,
And that your income level is not above a certain level.
yeah. That's correct. Yes, sir.
I got a question. I filed the claim, and they told me they cannot find my medical records. You know what I'm saying? I went over to North Washington Street.
Okay.
They filed the claim. They could not find my medical records, my service-connected medical records. Came back here, Eddie Johnson was liaison. I told her the situation. She tried to get my records. They still wouldn't give me my. It's like they cannot find my medical records anyway.
Okay. In order to prove a disability, or at least give yourself a credible base, when VA can't find your service medical records, it could be any reason out of a million for that. When you came back out of service, were you physically impaired because of that disability? To an extent where somebody would be able to see that you had a disability that maybe you didn't have when you went in. Family members can certify that. You know, he came back from service and he was limping. If it's a mental health issue, it's a medical, that's a medical basis.
It was Hep C. Hep C.
Okay, Hep C depends on what you did in service. If you were a medic in service, you have a credible basis for the exposure to other people's fluids that would provide for Hep C. If you had an operation with a blood transfusion while you were in service, at that time they weren't testing for Hep C, and that would be a credible source.
You see, that's what I'm saying. I went in without it, and I came out with it.
Well, there had to be something that happened for you to come back with it. And it's body fluids from another person, primarily, that the VA would consider as a source for Hep C.
When they did the inoculation for us to go over to the Persian Gulf War.
That wouldn't do it. The cap guns wouldn't do it. If they would have done it, 9 million veterans who served during Vietnam would all have Hep C.
But that's what, there's a lot of veterans that have it though.
You still need a medical, in order to prove that as a source, you need to get a doctor, an internal medicine doctor, to certify that that is more likely than not the cause of Hep C. It's not easy to do it. It's not easy to get a doctor to admit, or to even...
That's what I'm saying, because like I said, with my medical records, that's the proof that I didn't have it until I got in.
Well, your medical records would show that you got the inoculations, wouldn't necessarily show that you contracted Hep C from that. The VA's opinion is those gas guns that they shot you for the shots, that would not be a source.
But there are numerous veterans that's what I'm saying.
I understand that, but it's a question of the level of proof. When the VA makes a decision on a claim, they're using a regulatory base to make that decision. It's not medicine, it's what the regulation says. That's what governs how they do things. Now, for widows and dependents of veterans, they have their own special form to file for benefits. If the veteran dies from a service-connected cause, the widow can file for dependents' indemnity compensation. In that case, she gets a tax-free payment every month, forever. And if she's under the age of 57, as long as she doesn't remarry, she will get that benefit. If she's over the age of 57, she can remarry and she'll still get that benefit. That's the regulation, that's what it says. So that's what the VA goes with. Okay? When the VA makes a determination based on medical records, that determination is governed by a regulation, always. So it's not that they're trashing anybody or ignoring, they're going with what the regulation says. And in the current environment with electronic systems, the calculation of what your disability percentage is comes out of that new computer system. It's not a decision made by a human anymore. It's a decision produced out of the machinery. And that's part of what I think is wrong with the VA, currently and going forward. Okay? Now, if you don't agree with the decision that the VA makes, there's another special form so that you can file for an appeal. You tell them that you disagree. You can tell them why you disagree. You don't have to, but you can tell them why. And it'll probably take 1.5 years before you hear anything back from the VA in regard to that disagreement. And if you have to go further with the appeal, it will go beyond the regional office to the Board of Appeals in Washington, where unfortunately it will languish for anywhere from another 2 to 3 years or longer before you finally get a decision. And if you don't like that decision, you can go to the federal courts. It's a very long-winded process. There's a lot of pitfalls. It's always good to have an advocate on your side when you file that claim. Yes.
Good morning, sir. I missed something you said. I was speaking about veterans being married, and if they don't get married, they stay married.
All right. Let's talk about dependents for a second. If a veteran is married and he's rated at 30% or more, he can add his dependents to his claim. He will get extra compensation for his dependents. As his rating goes up, the amount that he's paid for his dependents will go up.
I just want to ask a question.
Yes.
The question is this, because I had a friend of mine who, she was married, right?
Yeah.
Her husband got killed in Vietnam, and they don't send her money. And somewhere along the line, she messed up, she got married, so they cut the money off, right? So would she ever be able to get that back again, or that's gone?
No, that's gone.
That's gone. Okay, that's what I want.
Yeah, that's gone. All right, VA says if you're married to the veteran and he passes away, the widow has eligibility for either DIC or a widow's pension. If the spouse divorces the veteran before he passes away, she's cut off from any benefits. If the veteran dies and the spouse remarries before she turns age 57, that cuts her off from benefits. They go away, they don't come back. Well, they can. If her second husband passes away, she can come back and ask for reinstatement for eligibility for that original benefit from when she was married to the veteran. As long as she did not divorce him. Yeah. If he passed away for whatever reason, the widow, even if she remarries and that second marriage ends, she can come back and request reinstatement based on the veteran's service.
Based on her first husband dying.
Yeah. Not based on the veteran that passed away. Not, yeah. Yeah, she will be able to reinstate that. Now, children, on the other hand, are different. Children are covered as dependents up to age 18. Then the VA cuts them off. If they go to college, the VA will keep them on while they are actively attending college on a full-time basis. If they go part-time, they're not going to get anything. If they're full-time students, they will retain that dependent status up to a maximum of age 26. And then they're done. Okay? You got a lot of questions. I'm in the regional office in Newark. I'm on the 4th floor. Sit back in the corner. I guess they figure I'm safe back there.
Vernon, could you tell us what the qualifications are for joining the VFW?
You have to be a wartime veteran if you want to join the VFW. That's primary. You had to spend time in the war zone. You have to have an honorable discharge. And you got to pay the dues. Right now, the average is about $25 a year. Yes, sir.
What if you haven't spent time in the war zone, but you had an honorable discharge? Can you still join?
You can join the American Legion. VFW requires time in the war zone. Okay? All right. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, you had a lot of legal questions. Now I'm going to bring up a young lady that's has business with legal services, so I guess you can bring some more questions on to her. Where did Mr. Robinson go?
I gave him my information.
Oh, you gave it to him
Yeah.
already? Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson. Thank you all for being here this morning, and thank you all for your service. My name is Karen Robinson. I'm a staff attorney with Volunteer Lawyers for Justice. I'm also a proud resident of Jersey City. Volunteer Lawyers for Justice is a nonprofit civil legal services organization that assists individuals and families with general civil legal issues. I have with me here today our program services brochure, which lists right down the center page all the practice areas in which we provide assistance. They range from things like family law matters, divorce, to consumer law issues, bankruptcy, right up on through wills and guardianship issues. So please feel free to come see me or grab one of my program brochures to read more about those areas. What I'm here today specifically for is to speak about our military assistance program. We started this earlier this year in partnership with PSE&G to really target the military population and some of the legal barriers that they face. This program specifically focuses on 3 practice areas, and that's why I cautioned Mr. Sampson opening me up to a number of questions, because these specifically are my specialties. Criminal record expungement, which is the isolation and sealing of one's criminal background, which is terrific when you're going into maybe the job force, applying for different employment positions. It would be great to be able to truthfully answer on those job applications that you've never been convicted of a crime if you've gone through a successful expungement. The second area is driver's license restoration. Driver's license, your privilege to drive here in the state of New Jersey can be suspended for over 450 reasons, many of which have nothing to do with unsafe driving, meaning that inability to pay a fine could eventually lead to the suspension of your driving privileges. And so that is something that we often can assist with by assisting you with the municipal court system where the driver's license suspensions originate. And the third practice area is child support modification, meaning that at one point in time you were ordered to pay a certain amount of child support that now maybe you're no longer able to comply with, and you wish to ask the family court to consider reducing that amount based on a change in circumstances that you face. Alternatively, your child may no longer be a dependent. Perhaps the child's independent. Well, here in New Jersey, the court does not automatically emancipate your child for you. That onus is on you to do, and that's also something that we can assist with. So the way that we provide this legal assistance is through our free monthly legal clinics, which are held in downtown Newark. In order to qualify for these services, there is no residential requirements, meaning that unlike some of our other programs where you have to live in a certain county in order to qualify, this program is open so long as that your legal issue arises here in New Jersey. So in other words, you could actually live in one of our neighboring states, New York, Pennsylvania, so long as you can come to one of our legal clinics and so long as your legal issue takes place in New Jersey, you will qualify. Secondly, there's no financial eligibility. I know that was coming up in some of the other people's questions. How do you qualify? What amount do you have to make? Do they look at your pensions? In order to receive assistance through this legal clinic, there are no financial guidelines, meaning that you can certainly receive the benefit of advice, counsel, brief services. However, if you are determined to need more ongoing assistance, more extended services, then we will do a financial screen in order to see whether you qualify for a pro bono attorney, an attorney for free to assist you with your ongoing extended services. And lastly, we assist regardless of discharge status. So again, I'm hearing some things with must be honorable discharge. Well, we find that it's often those who have a less than honorable discharge status that are often in the most need of assistance. And so this program is open regardless of your discharge status. Typically, our clients come to us through different community partners, and I have with me my flyer for the military program, which we call MLAP for short. It lists some of our referral partners in which you could visit to be screened for eligibility and to conduct an intake. But here today, thanks to Mr. Sampson's coordination of this forum, I'm here to do intake. So if anyone is interested in one of those 3 legal issues that I mentioned, please feel free to visit me. I'm at the table that's right outside immediately to your right, and I'm happy to sit down and do an intake with you to get you started as a client and to get you started with receiving these services. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We have a speaker now from Community Services, Ms. Vivian Patino.
Good morning and good afternoon. I am Vivian Patino. I work for North Hudson Community Action Corporation on behalf of SSVF and Supportive Services for Veterans and Veteran Families. It's a federal grant that was granted to us, and what we do is that we help veterans that are homeless or at risk of being homeless. At risk of being homeless falls under our prevention category. That means that you're either being evicted or you have a demand letter from your landlord stating that you're behind on rent and that there's going to be a process of eviction if you are not able to pay your arrears. We also provide other services under that category as well. And then we also provide rapid rehousing service. So if the veteran is homeless, meaning they're sleeping in a car, they're sleeping in a car, they're in the streets, or they're in a shelter, we provide rapid rehousing services for up to, if eligible, up to 5 months. If they're eligible, they may be eligible for those services. During that time, we support the veteran in trying to achieve housing stability. What that means is providing support to them, such as getting them to these kind of events so that they can get the information that's out there for them, so that they can know what benefits they're eligible for and what they need to do to get some of those benefits. So it's part of a bigger picture. We focus on housing first, but we try to support them as much as we can with other services that they're gonna need, such as housing counseling. So our housing counseling department meets with the veteran and provides information for them to know what their rights are as a landlord and what the rights are of a tenant, so that they know where they stand. Every municipality has different guidelines when it comes to housing. They need to be aware of that. I always tell my veterans, no question is a stupid question. Please ask it. Please get your information. Please empower others with that. There's so many times that our veterans are falling through the cracks because we are not supporting. We have the information and we're keeping it in our back pocket for ourselves. We're not empowering others. As soon as there's information out there that we are getting and has nothing to do with us, we completely shut off our button and we don't listen anymore. And we don't know that that information that's being given to you is going to save the life of another individual coming behind you. It is because of our veterans that we are standing here today. It's because of our veterans that we sleep warmly at night. So we need to get it together, and we need to get these resources, and we need to get it for ourselves, but also empower others. I'm sorry, I got a little bit passionate, but we need to start getting passionate, ladies and gentlemen, because our veterans are coming back. It's not just our veterans that are here today, which I honor. It's an honor to be here with you today. But our veterans are getting ready to come back. Right now, they're in the cold desert, making way for us. So we need to be ready with this kind of information for them. So back to our program. It's a great program I'm very passionate about. We've already helped over 100 veterans. That's over 100 veterans that we've either kept from being homeless, or we've rehoused, or we've empowered them with some sort of an information that helped them have a better life. It's a great program. SSVF is a nationwide program, which is something else that a lot of individuals don't know. North Hudson Community Action Corporation serves both Hudson and Bergen County, but SSVF is nationally. So if you know of a veteran in another state, Google it. There's other agencies out there that's going to be providing this service for them as well. We are also connected with the services within our agency, as well as a wider network, like the One Stop Career Center, like Hoboken Shelter, St. Lucie Shelter, the City of Jersey City, the City of West New York, the City of Gothenburg, City of Harrison. And we're connected with also the food pantries and the soup kitchens and all these other agencies that are out there, because we can't do it all, ladies and gentlemen. So we need to get out there and we need to work with them, and we're part of that. And that's what we connect our veterans with. Are we always successful? We try to be. We try to be. And it's those moments that are unsuccessful that makes us better for the future. But we're here today, we're here for you, and we're here for all the other veterans that still have not heard of our services. Thank you for your time. I'm out here. If you have a question, be sure to come out and see me. I will try my best to answer any questions that I have the answer to. If not, I will try to get back to you, because I don't know everything. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the speakers that we have for this afternoon. But please don't leave. We have the individuals out there in the hallway. Now is the time you can ask your questions and get your answers. This is the first of hopefully many more to come. This was not a jobs benefit. I wanted you guys to get benefits information. You know, next time around we'll have jobs if anybody's interested in that. But just to know what benefits you have out there and how to utilize them is the key thing right now. You have the individuals here, use them. Thank you for coming.